G'day gamers, Ranger Tony here, back with a new playthrough. I know I'm switching around a little bit at the moment. First of all, a few notes. One, this is not being streamed on Twitch. I'm doing this all offline and just recording it as a video. I don't know why, I just don't... Yeah, anyway. And this is going to be a playthrough or an attempt to get all the way through Neverwinter Nights 2. Now, I have done another playthrough on this previously. I didn't count up how many hours I spent, but I spent a lot playing a warlock. I'm going to talk a little bit about class selection in a minute, and this is not going to be a how-to, nothing like that. This is just me playing the game and talking about the game and stuff like that while I play. So let's dive in and we'll talk more as we go on. I've had this game for a number of years and never finished any of the campaigns in it. I've also downloaded some extra content for it, and that was the Icewind Dale module, which was all right. It wasn't super great, but it was okay. I didn't complete that either, but it was interesting to play it. There's also a Baldur's Gate module for this, so that you can play the original Baldur's Gate. Yeah, so I'm probably also going to break these videos up into around the 1 hour mark. I know YouTube seems to think that like 30 minutes is the thing for videos. I tend to actually like longer form videos. So I'm going to break them up around the hour mark. And yeah, we'll see how we go. Some might be a little bit longer, some might be a little bit shorter. If they're longer, it's because I haven't kept a good eye on how long it's taking, you know, what the record timer is at. And if they're less, it's because I have noticed the record timer and I've realized where I am in the game. And I think it's a good place to stop before going on. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, let's go in. So, main campaign. I don't have any recommendations on race or character or stuff like that. However, I tend to have two ways to play these sorts of games, right? I either get to a point where I want to play a homogenous party, which is everybody the same, which is not possible in Neverwinter Nights 2 because you can't create your own characters, right? NPCs. You can only create the primary character. Well, except in the Storm of Zahir module in this, you can create your entire party. And in that case, I have mucked around offline years ago with a full party of mages, a full party of rangers, things like that, and they are interesting. So I can't do a full party of mages, a full party of rangers, what have you. The other thing that I then like to try and do is cover all bases, so to speak. So I like to have a diverse party, and I'd like to use characters which aren't in the list of normal NPCs. So, for example, in this game, there is a fighter / monk. There is a bard. There is a rogue. There is a sorcerer. There is a mage. There is a paladin. There is a druid. Yeah, there's lots of different things. So I would normally want to pick something different from those. And I also tend to like to pick different races, which is really good here because we've got things like Grey Orc, Yuan-Ti, Plain Touched, Half-Orc, which aren't around a lot. Now, there is a Plain Touched character in this because the Plain Touched includes tieflings, and there is a tiefling rogue. The problem, though, with these last three races is that they are I don't know what the term is, but they are leveled, is probably how you want to put it. They have a level adjustment. So all of the plain touched, I believe, are +1 level adjustment. What that means is you don't level up, well, the first level. So it's hard to explain, but basically you take an extra level initially, an extra amount of experience initially to go to second level. And then from then on, you level normally. So it means when this character finally gets to level 2, all the other characters will be getting to level 3. So you'll always be 1 level behind. I like to think of it that way. It's a level adjustment. It's actually a negative. It drags you back a level. And it's done that way because you start with so many extra abilities that most of the other races don't get. And so it's a way of stopping that character from just becoming super powerful. The Yuan Ti and the Grey Orcs are actually 2 levels adjusted. No, sorry, the Grey Orcs are 1, but the Yuan Ti are 2 levels adjusted. So I don't like to play them because I prefer all my characters to be on the same sort of progression. Even though, as I've said, you have a tiefling who can be in your party, and so she's always going to be 1 level behind. There's also a good smattering of races in the existing NPCs. There is a dwarf, there is an elf, there is a gnome, there is... I don't know if there's a half-elf. I can't remember. There is human. There is tiefling. There isn't a halfling, and there isn't a half-orc that I can recall. I could be wrong. I have played, I think, to the end of Act 2, and there's 3 acts in this game. Even getting to the end of Act 2 takes quite a while. So I have actually gone a fair way through the game, but I don't... Yeah. I have never finished it. So I feel... And so I'm going to pick Half-Orc, okay? And it's a thing that I've done a lot in this game, picking Half-Orc, because in a lot of ways, Half-Orcs are not good at a lot of things, right? Because they get a -2 to intelligence and a -2 to charisma. And that is going to be a problem, particularly for this build. But we'll go on from there in a second. Let's toggle some facial hair and let's get that one there, because of course. And we might go for bald, which I think is that one there. And let's be different. Let's go really tall. Or should I go really tall, but thin? What if I go? No, yeah. Now, I was actually thinking of doing this build as a halfling. Actually, let me get into the character first, and then I'll explain why I decided not to go as halfling. Character choices. First of all, I'm not a big fan of barbarians. I don't know why. Well, I think I do know why, actually, if I think about it. There's a lot of these characters I don't pick because I don't feel like, to me, they don't feel like they make sense to be the primary character, to be the leader. And barbarians don't feel like a leader to me. They feel like almost like the hired muscle, right? And I don't necessarily think they have to be a leader because, you know, they have to have high intelligence or high charisma or whatever to be a leader in a party, but they just don't. That's why I don't play barbarians. They don't feel like a leader. If I was playing a single player game, I might be more inclined to give a barbarian character a go. But in a party environment, no. I don't pick bards generally, partly because I just don't really like them, but also partly because they feel just, again, they don't feel like a leader. They feel like they are very much a support character, right? They are there to buff everybody else or to debuff the opponents. That is their true goal, right? With maybe a little bit of spells, and if you want to, that you can shoot at stuff with a bow. If you put your bard into melee combat, you can do it, and you can make successful bardic swordsman builds, but no. Clerics, I'm very much against organized religion in general, so I don't really like clerics, even though I know they're super powerful, right? Particularly at higher levels, with all the spells that they can get, clerics can be super powerful. And there's you almost need one in this party, to be honest, because you're relying on a druid to do most of your healing without a cleric. All right? And one day I'm probably going to get over my whole anti-religion thing, and I will play clerics more. Druids, again, they don't really feel like leaders to me. I don't know why. Now, this is a new one. This is a favoured soul, and I'll point a couple of these out. The favoured soul is like the difference between a wizard and a sorcerer is the difference between a cleric and a favoured soul. So a cleric has to memorize or has to pray and be given a certain number of spells per day, and they have to decide to begin with, I want 2 copies of this spell and 1 copy of that one and what have you. Favoured Soul just has a certain number of divine spells that they know, and they can cast whatever combination of those they want during the day without having to worry that they memorized certain ones. And it is a lot of extra freedom. It was a thing that was only really available in 5th edition, and then they got rid of it. Sorry, not 5th edition. This is all based on D&D 3.5. So this was added in 3.5. And they sort of got rid of it because later on, now in the 5th edition rule set, clerics work that way as well, and wizards work the same sort of way as sorcerers used to, where you know a certain number of spells, and if you know you have a certain number of spell slots, so you might have 3 first level spots and 2 second level spots, you can cast any of your first level spells in whatever combination you want up to 3 times per day, and any combination of your second level spells however you want 2 times a day. That's how it all works. So Favoured Soul is just another cleric, right? Fighter is just, in a lot of ways, is pretty boring, right? Sure, you can do a lot of damage, and you do have things to do during combat. You do have abilities that you can switch on and off, special attacks, that knockdowns and disarms and all that sort of stuff. If you build the character right, you can have all of those. Monks, I actually did think about doing a monk playthrough for this because they are a little bit more interesting. The problem with monks is, so there is base attack bonus in this game, and what it is how quickly you progress at getting better at combat, at hitting things. And there are 3 tiers. There is high, medium, and low. And so things like sorcerer and wizard are in the low tier because they're not really combat focused. And then things like barbarian and fighter and paladin and ranger are in the high tier because they are combat focused. So they go up very quickly. They gain better abilities to hit very quickly. The monk is an interesting one because the monk is very much a combat focused character. They are not a support character in any real way. All of their abilities are combat focused and particularly melee focused, but they only have the medium progression, which is shared by things like clerics and druids and the warlock, things like that, things that are more support. I think the bard is a medium as well, but I can't. Let's have a look. It'll tell us down here. Base attack bonus, medium, yeah. So they're not really combat focused, but they're also not like entirely, numpties, whatever. So that's the problem with the monk. They can do a lot of damage with their hands and feet, but they don't gain that ability to get better hit, to get better hit bonuses like the actual other sort of specialized combat classes do. So it's a real problem. Paladin is an interesting one. Paladins are the sort of class where you take it because Paladins make really good all-rounders because they are high base attack bonus, so they are really, and they have a lot of hit points, so they are really combat focused. They are meant to be in the front line, but they have a bit of healing. They can do, smiting evil foes and turning undead, so they're better than a cleric. But they just don't have the number of spells that a cleric does. So they're an interesting one. Rangers, of course, are my default. That's what I usually go to. And they have the high attack bonus. They don't have the hit points of everyone else, mostly because you're not really, in some cases, you're not really expected to keep them in combat all the time, even though, they can be set up as a dual-wielding ranger or an archer ranger. That's the two sort of combat styles you can choose. Not great. Not really meant to be in the front line of combat because they really can't wear a lot of armor either. So they're an interesting one to play, but they're, of course, my favourite, being Ranger Tony and all. Rogues are not meant to be in the front line either. They are medium attack bonus and really small hit dice. But they can do lots of damage with their sneak attacks. I don't tend to choose rogues as my main character, but they can fit as the sort of that idea of a leader to me. Monks, I sort of went away from that. Monks don't often feel like leaders to me either. Paladins definitely do. Rangers are on the edge for me. Okay, sorcerers, as I said, spellcasters, but they don't have to memorize their spells, so that makes it really nice, but they have less spell options. Spirit shamans are another sort of weird cleric type, and I've never really got a good handle on them, so I don't like to use them. Swashbuckler is something really new for this. It was actually added in one of the DLCs for this, but because I bought the full version, you get it. Normally you wouldn't be able to play I think Spirit Shaman, Swashbuckler, and Warlock, I don't think those were available, and maybe even Favoured Soul. I don't think those were available in the original version of the original campaign. I think they were added later. Swashbuckler is an interesting one, and I have played through a fair way with the Swashbuckler. The problem is that the Swashbuckler is really designed, I think, that around the parry skill, but the parry skill doesn't work as well as you would like. And so it is, it's an interesting one to play because the whole idea is you get bonuses based on your intelligence. So you're supposed to be a very, very smart fighter, and you're supposed to specialize in light weapons and light armor. I mean, you can only use light armor, but you get weapon finesse to begin with, and all this sort of stuff. So you're basically a dexterity fighter, and it does work, but it requires a lot of micromanagement in combat to make sure, because you are a little bit squishy being light armor. In fact, you're very squishy. At least until there is a certain point where you can start getting all the really good gear that can buff your armor class to the point where it's not a problem anymore. And you probably need to be using, some sort of arcane and divine spellcasters to buff this character to keep them really going well. Warlock, we've seen my attempted playthrough previously, so you can go back and have a look at that if you want. I got quite away with that. It's definitely an interesting character. I love the Eldritch Blast, but it really is all you do in the entire playthrough is just keep hitting Eldritch Blast, because it won't attack with the Eldritch Blast automatically from range. It's like a spell. You have to do it. So you basically put that on your hotbar and you just hit like 1 or whatever the number is. You've got it in your slot. You hit 1, and then select a target. And once the target's selected, you can just hit 1 multiple times and it'll attack. But it's super grindy because you've got button mash. And then Wizard. Okay, standard spellcaster. Warlocks don't really feel like leaders. Swashbucklers do. Wizards and sorcerers can be party leaders. At least that's my thinking on them. What are we going to pick for this? Well, we're going to pick Paladin. And I know it's a little strange because I said I don't really like religion, and I don't. But this is one of the better sort of all-round characters that you can choose, particularly if you've never played games like this before. But we're picking a race that's not good for paladins. So we're giving ourselves a little bit of a tweak there. So as a paladin, we have to pick lawful good. And it very much limits us in the choice of deities that we can pick. Now, it doesn't matter which one you pick out of this list, has no effect on the paladin at all, unlike clerics and favored souls, where you get particular not schools, they call them domains of, you get particular domains of divine magic that affect your build, and they're based on the deity that you select. This does not have any problems like that. So I am going to pick like some of the main ones that you would pick as Helm is, and so these have to be either lawful something, so lawful neutral or lawful good. So you have to be lawful good. The deity will have to be either lawful good, lawful neutral, or neutral good. I don't think, no, chaotic good is not there. So, no. So it'll have to be, the choice of deity will have to be lawful good, lawful neutral, neutral good. Or, yeah, they're the options, I think. Oh no, there is chaotic good. Okay. I didn't think you could pick a chaotic good deity. So lawful good, neutral good, chaotic good, or lawful neutral are the options. The ones that are really probably common are Helm, who is the Guardian, Torm, who is actually true deity, the loyalty, duty, loyalty, obedience, and paladins, and his favorite weapon is the greatsword, or Tyr, who is whose portfolio is justice. I'm going to pick Torm because, well, the favorite weapon has no effect on this. It's only for clerics, and clerics can choose if they use the war domain, or there's another domain as well. I can't think of the name of it. There's 2 domains that you can choose, and if you choose either of those, then you can use the favored weapon, I believe. I think Torm is a good choice. Kalimvor is another interesting choice, the god of death and the dead. But we're going to pick Torm. Lawful good. Right, now, as I said, this is not really a how-to build for paladins, but here's what we're going to do. I don't want any ability less than 10, and our negative on intelligence and a negative on charisma really hurt us here. So let's get all of them to 10 first. Now, we do want a little bit of wisdom, but we don't need all the wisdom that a cleric normally has. So we're going to go to 14. Sorry, 14 with wisdom. And I want a little bit of strength, because we are essentially a combat character. It would be nice to go higher than 14, but we're not going to be able to, because we want as much charisma as possible, because that is your main thing as a paladin. Although I might only get that to 18 as we go up through levels, and then I might stop and might put the rest into strength. We'll see. Dexterity would be nice to help us when we're, wearing armor, ability to dodge and stuff like that, but I'm not going to put any points because we have so few left here, and we haven't put anything into charisma yet. We also haven't put anything into constitution. So what I'm going to do is we are going to be very much in the front line. So I want some extra constitution. So 2 extra points of constitution, or 2 extra points of, health per level will be nice. And that only gives us a few points to chuck into charisma. So we're only going to start with a 14 in charisma, but as I said, we are going to increase that later on. So there we go. That's going to be our start. It's not ideal. Ideally, I would like that to be, say, 16, but that would require me to take points out of something else, and I feel like I need all of those. Backgrounds. There's lots of things here that could be useful, but I think the best one is Natural Leader for me, for the way I want to play, because it gives all of my companions a +1 to their attack rolls, and it gives me a -1 to my saving throws. But as a paladin, I have pretty good saving throws anyway, so that is something that I am willing to forego. I could just choose the default paladin, but I'm not going to. We're going to customize this. We don't have a lot of skill points. You can put a maximum of 4 points in anything to start with, and we are going to put the maximum in the, and all the ones that are blue are the ones that are that you specialize in. Now, there is something to be, concentration would be useful if I was playing a cleric, or if I was expecting to be using a lot of spells in combat. Most of my abilities like Smite Evil or Lay on Hands do not require a concentration check as far as I remember. So I'm not going to worry about concentration. Concentration is how well you can cast a spell in combat while other people are trying to kill you, right? And so if I was playing any sort of dedicated spellcaster, sorcerer, wizard, or a cleric, favored soul, someone who is likely to be casting spells during combat, I would be putting points into concentration. But as a paladin, I don't think I need it. They tried to make this interesting by putting crafting in this game. I don't see the point, really, so I'm not going to bother putting points into those. Diplomacy. There is something to be said for using diplomacy. Having said that, I don't actually recall there being a huge number of dialogue options in the game where diplomacy is useful, or even anything. There's occasionally you can get bluff, you can get diplomacy, you can get intimidate, and I really don't recall there being a lot of those in the game, and usually there's a way to get around them. Like, you don't get penalized for not having diplomacy as a skill. And because I can only really put things into 2 skills, I want 1 into heal. And this is not my magical healing abilities like Lay on Hands. This is purely me using a healing kit on other people. And I don't expect to be doing this a lot as my main character, because this character is going to be melee focused, but I want some abilities there because it sort of fits as a paladin to be a bit of a healer, and it is useful. There will be times when it's like, I've got to do something here, and so I want it. Law is another good one, so we're going to take that, only because I want as many people as possible with the law skill, particularly early on, because otherwise you cannot identify magical items and you have to start paying money for them or using spells. And this character will not have a spell to do that. It'll be a while before we get someone who does, and it'll be quite a while, actually. And so people with law or paying merchants is the only way we're going to be able to handle that. Parry, Parry, as I've said before earlier when I was talking about the swashbuckler, parry is an interesting skill. I don't know that it really works as well as it could. The idea was interesting. It's not something that actually exists in the base D&D game. It was something that was added for the computer games, and it was in Neverwinter Nights 1 as well. It doesn't really feel like it works all that well. And I could pick non-specialized things, but you can only put 2 points into those. It costs 2 of these skill points to raise them 1 point. So it's really not worth it, particularly when I have so few to start with. If I had more intelligence, I would have a better start with those. That's going to do us. Let's move on. General feats. I get to pick 1 here. We are going to pick power attack. I want to get cleave as soon as I can. Cleave is a really good skill to have. Cleave is... and power attack is the prerequisite for cleave. Cleave is, I've just killed an opponent with my attack. I now get a free attack at another opponent within range. So that is super good. And then later on, I can't remember if I can get greater cleave or if that's only available to fighters. But if I can get greater cleave, I will get that as well, which allows you to do multiple attacks. As long as each one hits, you can keep going and attacking as many different opponents around you as possible. Kelgar, the dwarf who you meet fairly early on in the game, he actually starts with that ability already, so it's really quite good. But he's a fighter. Anyway, that's what we're going to pick. We get lots of abilities as a paladin. We can wear heavy armor. We can use any martial or simple weapons, and we can use shields. We're going to go for a two-handed sword build, though. Not that there's anything special I have to do to build that, except picking that as my weapon focus. And I could have picked the weapon focus straight away, but we'll do it later. What sort of name do I want? Not really liking any of those. Bork, no. Grag. Grag to just.
So many years ago today. Ah, my foster son is up and dressed, I see. Today is the High Harvest Fair, and the West Harbor Village Council requires me to man the archery competition. The human need to celebrate Remembrance Days baffles me. But at least something productive may come of it. The merchant Galen is here. He'll want my furs, as he usually does. Coins can be useful in getting by. This past season has been a hard one, for both tilled fields and wildlands. While I attend to the archery contest, I will need you to deal with the merchant. Fetch my furs from the chest, over by the painting.
Alrighty, we are going to do all of this tutorial stuff. I could skip the tutorial, which takes me directly to chapter 1, but if you get through the tutorial missions, it's actually you get a couple of interesting little items that can be useful, and you get a pretty good start. You get the same start as far as levels and experience, but you get a good start in a few little items and money that you wouldn't normally have.
Last season, I asked him to bring a duskwood bow to trade. Sell him the furs and use the coins it gives you to purchase the bow. Your friends await you at the bridge. I suppose you're anxious to see the fair. But don't forget to trade with Galen.
Right, really quickly, there is a strange little bug that I found that the key mapping for the Q key, I play the game in character mode, and for some reason at the start of the game, it's not set properly, so I can't turn left. I don't know why. It says it's there, but it doesn't work, so I have to remember to do that. Okay. I don't need to read any of this, but it's just telling you how to, different aspects of the game. This is what this tutorial is all about.
Come on, the fair's already started.
It's the biggest fair in years.
There's folk in from all the outlying farms, and even a few from outside the mare. That means a big audience.
A big audience, all cheering for us. This year's our last chance to compete for the Harvest Cup. Our last chance to win.
Okay, I'm going to try and get through this as quickly as possible, so...
We sign up with Georg in the village square. Come on.
I could skip through a lot of the conversations and stuff, but I won't. I'll leave it there. Although I think I did the same for the previous playthrough, but...
And the blight. You're sure it's spreading, Orlin?
It's no blight, Georg. It's something else. There's no mold, no rot. It's like the crops don't want to grow. Like they haven't the guts to up and face the sun.
What do the druids say?
Well, it's just a rub, Georg. There's no druids to be found, not head nor heel. It used to be they'd warned me of troubles, long before I noticed the signs myself. But this time, we're out in silence. You think we ought to say something? Everyone's gathered for the fair, even from the outlying farms.
No. They ought to be free from cares, at least for a day. We'll go round tomorrow. Talk to the households one by one.
Right you are, Georg. Tomorrow, then.
Aha! I've been wondering when I'd see the three of you. Last year to compete, isn't that right?
Yeah.
Rules are the same as ever. Win 3 of the 4 events, and you win the Harvest Cup. Win all 4, and the village council grants you a special prize. And nobody's done that since old Cormac.
Well, we are going to do that this year. Okay, I'm just going to skip forward.
If you have any troubles, you know where to find me. Oh, and good luck in the brawl.
All right, so we could do the brawl straight away, but we want to do a couple of other tasks first to get us a level. That gives us just a little bit more health so we can survive longer in the brawl. But the brawl's right here. You talk to this guy and you do the brawl. This is the merchant we need to talk to, and we get a little bit of experience for doing this interaction. So I'm not going to read through all this, but we have to give him the furs. So we'll trade. We will sell the furs. And then we will buy the bow that our foster father wanted. Okay. We are right here, so let's do the magic portion. So this is where you learn how to use magic. Gee, I don't remember what happens if you play this as a mage. I think you can do it yourself. Anyway, so the little tutorial there is showing us how to cast spells. I already know how to do that. We need to cast the Summon Reacher first. And then it wants us to cast Enlarge Person on Bevel. And then it wants us to cast either Ray of Frost or Acid Splash on the barrel. And there we go. We win that competition. And then this guy is complaining that he thinks someone has done something a little bit naughty with a pig up here. And by naughty, no, don't go there. He thinks someone has used a spell or something to make this pig extra big, because winning the pig competition is who has bred the biggest pig. So we can come over here, and you'll notice that this one pig here, and that's Lou's pig, Louis, and it's significantly bigger than all of the others. So let's have a look at the pig.
Well, Orland's right. This pig's been enchanted. It's a faint aura, so it could have been a simple enlargement spell, or maybe a potion.
Can you dispel it?
Well, Retta did give us a scroll of Lesser Dispel. All I'd have to do is read the words.
Wait a minute. Shouldn't we say something to Louis? He's a foul old wretch. But we ought to give him a chance to withdraw his pig from the contest before he's shamed in front of everyone.
Good point. We know your pig's been enchanted. Knowing's one thing, proving's another. I say you're a liar spreading tales. I'm fixed to beat Orlin. He's paid you a lot to slander me. I bet I'd pay you better to shut your mouths and to tell Orlin that I'm no cheat. No deal. Withdraw your hog from the contest or we'll dispel the enchantment. That's a bluff, nothing more. Now, be off before I tell your father how you've been slandering me and my pig. Okay, so we need to give the lesser dispel spell over to Amy, and then we will cast it on the pig. There we go. And the pig is now back to normal, very small. You can try and talk to him, but he won't actually, he just mutters to himself. Look what you've done to my pig. And Orlin now thanks us. Glad to be of help. And he gives us some pork jerky, which can be used to heal you if you need it. We'll probably end up selling it later. Okay. Let's talk to Dagan, sorry.
So you've decided to compete for the cup, I see. I know this is your last year, but the rules apply to all, even foster sons.
Let's give him the bow.
A fine bow. A fine one, made by one who loves his craft. You may keep the rest of the gold as your allowance for the season. But you came for the archery competition as well, did you not?
Yep.
Fetch a crossbow from the barrel and take a few shots at the practice target. You must hit the target once before you can compete.
Okay, we are not particularly well set up for this because we do not have any specialization in ranged weapons, and we do not have sufficient dexterity to really be good at this. So we will hit the practice target, talk to him again.
The rules of this, your target 5 is the...
Okay, so we need to shoot these bottles. So we'll come over to here. And yes, I am potentially going to save scum this. We're going to quick save because I want to win the entire competition. So if I miss any of these, I will reload the save. Now we might be lucky and we might hit them all because there are actually fairly easy targets to hit. You can do this with a default 10 dexterity. It's really just bad luck if you actually miss one. If you have lesser dexterity, so you get a penalty, then there's a good chance that you will miss one or more. But by hitting all 10, you automatically win the competition. The first person to hit all 10 wins the competition. There we go. We got all 10. We automatically won.
Well done. A perfect score wins the... I've rarely seen such a fine performance. Go on now.
All right. Just because I want to get that out of my hands because it just looks silly more than anything. Okay, we've got a level. So let's level us up. We are going to go, of course, heal and lore. And we don't get any special feats or anything. Unlike Bevel, who does. But we're just going to use the recommend thing for all of these. So Bevel is going to take knockdown, I believe. Yep. And then we're going to just use recommend all the time for Amy as well. She gets a couple of extra spells. And we are all good. Let's go talk to Thomas.
Enjoying the fair. Packs of feral children set loose to find trinkets. Grown men braining one another with clubs. Do you know they're actually granting prizes for the fattest pig? As if the creatures needed encouragement.
Good to see you too, Thomas.
I expect you are here for the aptly named Knaves Challenge. Surrounded by muck and reek, and why not encourage our children to be thieves as well? That's what I always tell them. Come to think of it, I don't believe any of you has the skills to compete. Not that I'm complaining, mind you, but you'll need to find someone who can pick pockets and break locks and search for hidden trinkets if you want to compete.
Lock breakers? Pocket pickers? I don't know anyone like that. Do you?
One of the children, perhaps.
What about Kip? He's always nicking vials from Tarmus, and he's right over there behind the tent.
So let's get Kip on the team. Let's just skip through this. It's just... There we go. Let's give him his level up. Not that it's necessary, but hit a little bit of improvement in his skills. I mean, as I said, it's not actually necessary, so it's no big deal, but we'll do it anyway.
The boy who stole my basilisk eyelash, and not once, but 4 times.
That's right. My frog needed eyelashes. Then I got him a sweetheart, and she needed him too.
He's joined our team.
Yourself on my account. I'll settle with the young artiste and his frogs later. Before you begin, I suppose you'll want to hear the rhyme.
Yep.
You hadn't heard? Better for me if I'd kept my peace. Georg asked for a rhyme this year. That's what wizards do. We compose rhymes. Here, I'll demonstrate. I've hidden 3 feathers, scattered them wide, placed white in a box, and locked it inside. Blue followed termite tracks down where they ran, green in the pocket of same-colored man.
So we're looking for 3 feathers. I love Thomas. He's a great character.
Yes, you and half the waifs in West Harbor. I adore children. Did you know that? Swamp children, particularly.
He is just... Yeah. Actually, one of the reasons I'm playing this is I saw a video the other day of someone who had 100%ed all of the original content, all of the DLCs, and the original campaign and the DLCs for this, and they were giving their review of it. And they said in particular, even though the ending of this module, the original campaign, is a little bit... I don't know. They said a lot of the dialogue and that sort of stuff, the interactions between the NPCs in your party and between you and other people is really well written and really good. And I agree. Everything I've done previously in this game, I've loved that sort of element. Anyway, we'll be back with the feathers. But yeah, I saw that video and it got me thinking about playing this again. Right, so technically, if you were following the rhyme, we should go and unlock the chest first, then come back to the wood pile, and then there's a man over there who's wearing green. But the log pile's right here, and Kip will actually warn us that there's something under them logs. So he then... what we're going to do is we're going to switch to Kip, and we're going to have him... There we go. That old wizard trapped them logs. We can't get once underneath them as long as the trap's in place. So Kip's going to hopefully disarm the trap. If he fails to do it first time round, he doesn't get killed or anything. He just gets knocked over for a sec, and you can try again. So we've got that one. We have to pick this lock. I've never had this fail, but even if it does, it's no big deal. You just try again. Now, we'll get up here. Amy will recognize the green man.
Pocket of same-colored man. I'll bet that's him over by the house. The feather's in his pocket. It's got to be.
All right, so we have to use sleight of hand, which is the version of picking pockets in this game. Technically, we should be stealth to do it, but the game doesn't force you to. I'm going to do it anyway. There we go. We were successful. Let's go back to Tarmus.
It really is a dreadful day for a fair. Not even the tents are managing to look cheerful.
Got the feathers.
Good gods, the knave's challenge is won, and I can go someplace dry. I'd kiss all of you, but no one respects an affectionate wizard.
Best of luck getting dry.
No need to remind me. I try never to leave my home unless I'm looking for a bath.
All right. So we've technically won 3 of the 4, which is enough for us to win the Harvest Fair. But if we can beat the Brawl, which we have to, there's a group of 4 people that we have to beat first, and then we have to beat the 3 Mossfeld brothers, who are sort of minor antagonists. Then we have won all 4. We're as good as Cormac, who we meet later on, and we get special stuff. So let's do that. Talk to Brother Maring. We'll do the lore one. Morning Lord grants a fine day even for a brawl. He likes you, Harborman. I think they do say he has a sense of humor. I'm going to pick that. Let's just get on with this. We're ready to fight. He wants us to practice first, so we've got to get the training clubs out of here. I have to... Kip doesn't participate in this, but the rest of us do, so I'm going to give us all clubs. And they pick club because club is one of the few weapons that any character class can use. If you play as a monk, you can, of course, or any character, really, you can, of course, use your fists if you want. Monks have an advantage, of course, because their fists do more damage. And it's actually quite easy to get through this fight as a monk. We have to go and attack one of the practice dummies first to prove we know what we're doing. How am I missing so badly? There we go. One more hit, and we're good. All right. He's going to tell us the rules. Has to be a fair fight. No arrows, no magic. Barehanded or with the club. No bets. Okay. So we want to be a bit unfair. That's not really unfair, but we want to make sure that we gang up on people here. Actually, Bevel, you come back to that guy, please. Meanwhile, oh no, he's down as well. We're all going to take on this last guy, and it's all good. We didn't even get injured. Right, so we need to talk to the Mossfields before we go any further. Let's quick save, because I want to make sure we win this fight. So they're just running their mouth. That's enough. If you've got a problem, you can take it up with me, because he was picking on Amy. They've beat the Brawl 3 years running. Let's go. They want to make a friendly wager. I'm going to pick number 1. I could pick number 2, but if I pick number 1, it increases my lawful status, and I'm lawful good, so that's a good thing to do. So we're going to do that. Your actions have shifted your alignment 1 point towards lawful. I mean, I can't show you here, but if we have a look, I'm lawful good, 86% lawful, 85% good. I started as 85, I think. Okay. And the fight starts straight away. Once again, we're going to go with the strategy of an all-out attack on one character to try and take them down as quickly as possible. Okay, that does have a minor effect that you do get people coming around and ganging up on me then. But that's okay. Oh, that's not okay. I'm about to be knocked out, but anyway. Good. We got that guy down, and I've only got 1 hit point left. But that's okay. I can go down. It won't actually be a problem if I get knocked unconscious. Like that. Actually, I think I just got... Was that a knockdown? Or anyway. Yeah. We still managed to win. Overall. Last man standing. Okay. Let's just rest. Oh, I haven't set up my bar yet. One little note for those of you who have not played this game before. I might have mentioned this in the previous playthrough a year or more ago. If you go into your character list and go to feats, you can drag some of these onto the toolbar. In particular, you get these 3 abilities or feats straight up. Now, Merchant's Friend, this just gives you a 10% discount from merchants just in general because you're Dagon's son or foster son. The Harborman doesn't really have any real ability, but the Blessed of Wakeen does. This gives you a bonus to all saving throws, so you can use it at any time. I think you can use it once a day. Actually, no, you can use it as often as you want. And also, if you have that turned on, some merchants will have a second... which I don't know that you have to have it turned on, but it gives you a second... second storage, second set of items that you can buy from some merchants. And it's later on, it's like, I think, Act 2 of the game. But it's if you remember to use it, it just increases, you can use it, before you go into battles, and it increases your saving throws, which is, pretty good. And this is our Smite Evil, which we're going to use a little bit later. Okay, we've rested up. We're all doing good. I actually just want to put away the club, just because. Let's talk to Georg again and get this done. Now we're approaching the 1 hour mark.
You've won the cup and all 4 events. Nobody's done that since Cormac. That warrants a special reward, of course. I have a harvest cloak for you, courtesy of the village council. It'll be yours at the end of the day. If there's anything you wanted to do before the awards ceremony, now's the time. Maybe a mug of harvest mead to celebrate, eh? I'll meet you at the stage when you're ready for the victory speech. Now, I'm off.
All right, so we got our final level. Yeah, we're approaching the 1 hour mark. I'm going to go a little bit over. It's probably going to be an hour and a half. I want to finish the entire of the tutorial chapter, the prologue, whatever you want to call it. So let's just continue. Oh, hang on. No, actually, we are almost done, because the attack on the village is the start of chapter 1, so we will break there. Okay, let's get our level. Paladin, heal. I didn't really mention it. I'm going to be doing a pure Paladin. I'm sure there are any number of people that will tell me that if I take a level here and there of this and that and the other, that you'll make an even more powerful Paladin. Not interested. I generally just play pure builds. Cleave. Yes, we definitely want cleave. Wonderful.
What's up?
Again, we're just going to go recommend for everything. We're going to do that for all NPCs, just all the way through, I think. I don't want to micromanage things. I have to remember, though, to start setting up the behaviors and making sure I have those set correctly for each character. But we'll look at that in the next episode. Alrighty then. Let's go and get our reward, shall we?
Gather round, mates. Gather round. This harvest fair's a celebration, but it's also a dark anniversary. We all know what else happened on this day. Not so long ago, we nearly lost this village. Almost lost our lives. Almost lost it all. But we came back. Cleared burnt farms. Buried our dead. And put our ashes behind us. And we rebuilt. Tougher and stronger than ever. Long as there's a harvest fair, we won't forget that day. And our young folks, they'll stay tough. Long as they compete for the Harvest Cup. So let's hear it for this year's winners. 3 cheers for the Harvest Champions. Hip, hip, hooray! Hip, hip, hooray! Hip, hip, hooray!
Alrighty then. That is it. Thank you for joining me for this episode, and I will see you for the next one. Bye now.
The village is under attack! West Harbor is under attack!